again, bringing something as far different from technology as we can have. So, so far with teacher class were related to technology, but here we are so far away from technology, but yet probably something which has endured all the technology, which has gone through, which your storytelling started with the first cave painting that probably man put up on the wall of a cave, probably even before language came in. And it has endured all this thousands and thousands of years. And it is not just endured, it has actually come out in so many different forms, right? So storytelling is probably, along with, I would say, the lowly cockroach, one of the most enduring forms that is there we have in our world today. And I'm really glad to be able to share my thoughts with you through a teacher class platform. So a couple of things I would like to say before we start. Today's session, I will be giving I would say, an idea about the power of storytelling and an introduction to that. And the next session, that is the coming week, we'll be talking about some hands-on tips on how to use storytelling in your class. So I would say that it is important that you attend both these sessions in order to get the actual usable information from it. And in addition, in the next session, I'm going to request the organizers also to allow everybody to switch on their videos and audios, because storytelling is not all about one-way communication. If there is anything, storytelling is all about two-way communication. Every time a storyteller is talking, they are listening. They cannot be separated. And every time the listener is listening, they are also actively listening, right? So I would say that it will be very difficult to have a storytelling program or a training without all the participants being visible. But today being the introduction, it's completely fine. But next time I would like to request that as a special exception, we have a session where all the participants can come on the cameras, can switch on their audios, so that we can have a very lively session with all of you. A bit about myself, very briefly. So I started off into this beautiful world of storytelling around 10 years back when I got associated with Kathalaya, which is a premier institute in storytelling in India, run by Mrs. Geeta Ramanujan. And post that, I have undergone training with Kathalaya. I have done a lot of storytelling with Kathalaya. I've also attended the trainer. I've also completed the train the trainer program from Kathalaya. Since then, I have been a trainer in the area of storytelling, as well as I do a lot of performances in storytelling. And that is not all. And that is also the reason why I'm here with you today. So performance is one end of it. Teaching seems to be the other end of it, right? When you're teaching, you're not putting up a performance. It's all serious business. Well, that is where we come in. That is where stories come in. So it is important that information that you give, that information is extremely important as a teacher. It is just that the stories help. They provide a layer where they quote this information beautifully so that it becomes more palatable. It becomes something which is more retainable, and it is something that the students can recall better. I would like to start off with a story, of course. So they say that long time back, in a small town, there were two sisters. The two sisters, they, just like any other sisters, they liked each other a lot. They loved each other a lot. They were very close, but yet they were always fighting. They always thought that, one-upmanship, like, I think I am better than her. And this sister would say, you think so? I think I am better than you. Very curious to know the names of the two sisters. The names of the two sisters were Truth and Story. Now, Truth and Story had a good life, and fighting and playing and enjoying and talking and eating and all the things that sisters do. One day they had a fight. And they started fighting like cats and dogs, just like sisters do. They were at each other's throat almost. Now, what was all this fight about? Well, Truth said, I am the most important. Without me, there is no world. Absolutely not there. Truth. Truth is the most important. Haven't you heard? Satyameva Jayate. It is just truth that wins. Not all your kahani stuff, not all your story stuff that you're going to bring in. Truth is necessary. Truth is important. Truth is inevitable. Whatever happens in the world, this world may change. You may not be there tomorrow. We may not be there. What remains is the truth. Isn't that what we all tell our children also? The truth is most important. Anyway, Truth was very, very sure about it. Well, said Story, that may be, but I think I am sufficiently important too. I have been here since from forever, even before the word truth came out. What are you telling? Truth, 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 truth? Huh? Big deal, truth. Story is the most important. Stories are beautiful. They make people happy. They make people want to listen. Who wants to listen to the truth? Well, so the truth. Let's have a contest. Okay, what is it? Simple. Let's just go out and walk through the streets of the city. It's a small city. There are just 3-4 streets. We will see how many people talk to us. The more popular you are, that person wins. Well, those days, apparently they didn't have Facebook, they didn't have Instagram. So the likes didn't come through click of a button. They had to actually meet people to get the likes. And so they said, fine, that seems to be a good enough idea. They both agreed. The Truth, who was the elder sister, always said, elders first, and that's the truth. Fine. So Truth went out on the street. As Truth was walking down the street, fully confident of herself, her face resplendent, proud, not a bit of shame on her face, as she walked out, the stark truth. The people on either side of the street started going inside. She looked at them in surprise. Why are they running away from the truth? No, they must have done something wrong. They must be guilty. Maybe these people are just not the right kind of people. So she still walked ahead, full of pride, her eyes reflecting her importance. As she started walking towards the street, people even ahead of her, they went inside the houses and shut the door. Nobody wanted to see Truth. This cannot be. Why is this? So she went and knocked on the door. I am the Truth. I am here to talk to you. Inside she heard a wail, a cry. No, please don't come. What is this? How can it be? Isn't it natural that everyone should accept the truth? She was completely dejected, defeated. She came back home and sat in a corner. Not a single person wanted to meet me, she told Story. Story felt sad. After all, they're sisters. They didn't want each other to be sad, right? But then a contest was a contest. Okay, let me see, she said. And she stepped out on the Truth with a smile on her face, her eyes full of excitement and enthusiasm. She was like radiating charm, and she was radiating her intention to connect with people. She went up to them and she spoke to them. She put a hand over their shoulder. She asked them how they were. They told all their stories to her, and she told all her stories to them. And when she went, they waved at her and said, come back again, come back again. And she went through the city. She got quite a few likes. She was very happy. And she came back home skipping and said, see, I told you I am more important. You know how many likes I got? I know you said you got 0, but I got like a few 200, 300 likes. Okay, so the truth. Don't gloat. Why? Isn't it nice? No. You're sad? What do you think? Said Story. Don't worry. Come here. And she went and hugged her sister and said, Don't worry. I'll not let this happen to you again. What can you do? The truth is the truth. The truth is that people don't like truth. What's more there? What more is there in that? Well, said Story, I know a plan. What is that? Come with me and just see. So, Story held on to her sister. She asked the sister to put her hands around herself and hugged her. And Truth and Story walked out on the streets. And when the people saw the Story, of course, they welcomed her. They called her in. They talked to her. They shared their stories. And along with the story, they also accepted the truth. And that, they say, is the power of storytelling. Stories give a way where we can put the truth, cover it up nicely, not misleading anybody. It's not lies. You're not trying to fool people. Instead, you're making it more easy to accept. The hard truth is hard for people to understand. But when the same thing is said in a way that they can relate to, that is what is the success of truth as well as story. And as teachers, this is something that is very, very important to you. You want the message not just to reach your students, you want them to be able to do something with it. It's not just that you want to teach them the Newton's laws, or you don't want to teach them some mathematical equation. You don't want to just tell them about the grammar and the rules. You don't want to just do that. You don't want them to just know about which is the country where the maximum amount of coffee is grown. That is not just enough. You want them to be able to accept it and at some point do something with it. I think it's a dream of every teacher that whatever I teach will benefit and impact my students in some way or other. Do you all agree? At one point or not, I'm sure you would have all thought that if what I teach today in my class helps my student in even this small way, isn't that so great? That's the whole ethos of being a teacher, isn't it? And stories is that technique, is that beautiful tool that is going to help you to do it. And this is not just what we know today. As you know, from time immemorial, stories have been used to impart learning. Of course, all of you would have heard a lot of stories from Panchatantra, right? Aesop's fables. The Bible, the Old Testament, is full of stories. So why did they use those stories? Why didn't they just put down the teachings? Why didn't Vishnu Sharma say loss of friends, gain of friends, and whatever it is? He could have just said that. He could have put down the 10 principles of making friends, 10 principles of fighting enemies, 10 principles of using techniques of using whatever, cunning, whatever it is he wants to say. But he didn't do that. Why did he put it down in a story? So that is what we are going to see today. And interestingly, the research today indicates that this thing that we knew empirically, we know instinctively, when Vishnu Sharman or Aesop set out these stories, they didn't think so much. But we know today, scientists have proved that stories have an effect on us far, far beyond just the stories. It is not the language that matters. It is how they are connecting with us that matter. So now, before I share my screen, I would just, it's a small couple of slides because stories don't go well with verbose PPTs. So I'm just going to have a couple of slides. Before that, I would like to ask you a simple question, and I'd like you to put your answers in the chat. When is the last time you told a story? Yes, if 20 years back, okay. Others, to my son, okay. This week in my class, okay. Okay. Are the others? Yesterday in your class, okay. If anyone wants to unmute and tell, I'm fine with that also. Today in my class, great, okay. This week. Last week, okay. What if I tell you that all of you are wrong? Probably the last story that you told, yes, absolutely daily in your class, that I don't agree. Probably the last story that you told may be just a few minutes old, or at the most a few hours old. So, why do we feel that stories are something that have to have a structure in telling? It's not true. We are all natural storytellers. We tell stories all the time. For example, let's say I met a friend today. I will not come home and say I met a friend today. Maybe there are some people who do that, but most of us will not. Oh, you know what happened? It was a friend that I hadn't met in a long time. Let's say I was just in the store and I was picking up the bread and the butter for today's breakfast. You know what happened for tomorrow's breakfast? And then somebody tapped me on my shoulder. I looked back and like, oh my God, how many of you, I'm sure many of you will do the same thing as that, or in any different way. Anything that happened, you would have heard a story, somebody, your friend, someone you meet on the way, your family. We, we very rarely tell things just as they are. We like to add the expression to it. We like to add the elaboration to it. Why do we do that? In one thing I would say, it just gives a lot of joy to tell a story. It's actually beautiful to tell a story. So the same thing becomes so much more colorful. We are all beautiful storytellers in our own way, and yet we think that storytelling is what you do in front of other people when you have been asked to do. I think that is one myth that I want to break today with all of you. So, all of us tell stories all the time. There is hardly a day that will go by when we are not being storytellers. So, first of all, when you say, I want to use storytelling as a tool in my classroom, let me tell you that you are already an expert in the tools of storytelling. It is just that when you have been asked to do it in front of an audience, sometimes there are some curtains or screens that come in our way and stop us from being natural. So it is just a simple aspect of removing those curtains so that you can be your natural storyteller self. And each of us tell stories in completely different way. Some of us may be very animated, some of us may be quiet. But yes, when we are telling children, a lot of animation and expression and voice modulation and slapstick, comedy, they all help a lot when we are telling children. But telling adults, maybe not so much. And definitely, it will help to learn those tools which will enhance your audience based storytelling. But remember, when you are talking, when you are telling a story, all you need to do is lose the inhibitions, lose the things that are keeping you from acknowledging yourself as a natural storyteller, and then you will become a natural storyteller. Okay, so any questions so far?
No, no, not yet. Teachers, if you have any questions, please do share in the chat. Or you can unmute yourself and you can ask your questions as well. If you have any question,
Yeah.
unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, let me go ahead. We will again come back to the questions at any point. So, yes, thank you. So, why are stories so important, or why are stories so effective? So this is based on research that is done by neurologists, based on brain scans of people who are listening to stories and who are telling stories. So, of course, as I said, this is information which we all know instinctively, but it is something that has been proved by science. So I just wanted to share the science of storytelling a bit before we go ahead. So when you are teaching children, so here our focus is teaching children. So stories can be told for entertainment as well as education. So when you're telling stories for entertainment, you are in a different plane. You will be thinking of it in a different way, right? You are not going to say that, oh, okay, the information or fact is not important. It could be a beautiful message. You see a play, you see a movie which has a beautiful message. I'm not saying that the information is irrelevant. It is just that when you are watching something for entertainment, the information is good, is great, but is not overly significant. But when you are teaching, when you're using storytelling for teaching, the information is very important. Let's say you tell a story, your entire class has fun. You jump up and down, you make sounds, you make actions like an elephant, you roar like a lion, you squeak like a mouse, you go all over the place, and children are also running around. But in the whole thing, if the message is forgotten, that is not, that doesn't serve your purpose, right? So when you are telling stories for information, it's very important to keep a check on where you are with your information. So information is the king here. Information is what you're trying to envelop within the story. Such through kahani. That's what we're trying to do, right? Just like the two sisters. Now, why is it that when story told went out in the city, she was accepted while truth was not? It is because of a few things which deal directly with our brain. First thing is exposure. How does it help? How do stories help learning? See, let us say I am telling a story. I want a simple story. Let us take the simplest or probably the most common story which everybody would have heard in their life. I would be highly shocked if I come to know that somebody hasn't heard the story of the thirsty crow, for example, or the lion and the mouse, right? Which is a common Aesop's fable, which everyone has heard. So there's the story of the lion and the mouse. What is it being told for? What is the information that you want to convey? What is the information that you want to convey? Friendship, okay. Anything else? Anything else, teachers, other than friendship? Moral values. What moral values? Trust, okay. Helpful. Knowledge. Faith. Beautiful. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the information that you want to convey, that this is important, right? But in the process, what all are you doing? You are telling them about the lion. You are telling them about the habitat of a lion. You are telling them about the strength of a lion. You are telling them about a mouse. You are talking to them about the difference in sizes of a lion and a mouse. You're talking about big and small, right? You're talking about the kind of life that a mouse leads. You're talking about humans who hunt animals for pleasure, for power, anything. You're talking about forests. You're talking about the importance of animals being free. So, at the end of it, what you have told them is not just faith, it is not just friendship, it is not just moral values. You have suddenly introduced a world to them of so many things. Now, if the same thing I say a single statement or even put a quote, I write a quote on the note blackboard. Like let's say, a lot of us do that, and it's very interesting. I definitely, as an adult, love to read it. But what about children? I put a quote saying, "Friendship wins all," or "Friendship is the most important," or "Nothing like friendship. Friendship is sweeter than sugarcane," or whatever it is. That's my quote. Fine. It may be true. I'm not saying it's not true, but how are the children going to identify with it? It seems like an abstract concept that you have put up there. They will repeat it, they will learn it, they know the language skills will improve. They will make up similar. Oh, friendship is like sugarcane and something is like something else. Great. But at the end of it, what does it mean to them? When you soak your concept into reality, in the life that they see around you, whatever you call it, learning by examples, experiential learning, or whatever it is, that is when true learning happens. Let us say I am going to use this story to talk about friendship. Now, a few things can go wrong here. One, I tell the story as a story, and I tell the concept as a concept. So I say, I tell the story of the lion and the mouse, and I say, oh, there was a lion. The lion, one day the mouse was running here and there, and the lion was about to. The mouse said, "Please leave me, let me go. I will definitely help you at some point of time." And the lion, "How come you're not going to help me? I'm so powerful. How will that puny, tiny, puny mouse like you help me?" Blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. The mouse runs away. And then one day, what would happen? The lion gets caught in a net. It's a net set by a hunter. And he roars. The mouse hears his friend, comes running, breaks open the net, and the lion is free. So that's the story. And then, if you say the moral of the story is friendship wins, what are you trying to do? You are trying to break the connection between the story and the moral. You're telling them that I told you the story, now I will tell the moral. So you're not allowing the concept to soak into the story. Instead, if you bring that out through the story and don't tell anything, that is when they will know that it will imbibe into their minds through the characters, through the people, through something they know and something they learn, that friendship is important. Instead of saying the moral of the story, if you could have said, when the mouse broke open, the lion said, "Thank you, my friend. I will never again belittle anybody small. If it were not for you, I can't imagine my fate. I would have been caught in a hunter's nest." Ah! "No problem," said the mouse. "What are friends for? I'll always come and help you whenever you want. Just call me, okay?" And the mouse ran away. Just by shifting your message from outside the story to within your story, you are letting the message come as a part of the story. And that is something everyone will remember, including, of course, the children. Now, right now, we're talking about children. So when there is a situation where there is for them to relate, it becomes so much more easier for them to understand and connect. In addition to the extremely high level of learning, the exposure. The second thing is, of course, it helps to comprehend, it helps to understand information because it is sort of organized. You're connecting so many different things, right? Through examples. So it helps to understand, connect, organize, it helps in better comprehension. Then another very important thing is sensitization. Apparently, I'm not a neurologist. Of course, this is something I read. So that's why I'm saying apparently, because I'm not an expert on the topic. But apparently, all of us have something called as mirror neurons, right? When we see somebody cry, we feel sad. When we see somebody happy, we are happy. When someone is being exploited, it makes us angry. Why is that? We are not them. As Gandhiji said, nobody can escape a child's smile, right? So it's such a beautiful thing. You see a child smile, how can you stop yourself from smiling? But why do you smile? The child is smiling because there's nothing else to do in its life. It is a free life. Doesn't have to bother. Its mother is going to do the cooking. Its mother is going to give it food. If it falls down, the mother is going to pick it up. And if it has any other problem, also mother is going to take care. The child can smile all it wants. I am here. I'm slogging through the day. I have like school. I mean, you teachers, you have school. You have to come back. Then you have to cook. Then you have to take care of the house. Then you do this. You have to do that. You have to do this. By the time it is, what is there to smile? But when you see a child smile, even at that time, your face automatically breaks into a smile. Why is that? That is because we have something called mirror neurons, which mirror the emotions that we see. When we see sadness, we feel sadness. When you see happiness, we feel happiness. When we hear the story of characters who go through troubles, who achieve the impossible for victory, we are with them. When you tell the story of King Bruce and the spider, it is not the fact that King Bruce could succeed that makes us all very happy. It is the fact that this is possible even for us. A hero's journey is a very common theme. You have a lot of stories like that. Someone very poor or who has a hard time, very difficult, nothing can be done, sad life, all troubles, more troubles the better. But they fight and come up, and then they reach the top. Wow, we love those stories. We love those stories. We love the stories of hope. It gives us hope. It makes us feel that, yes, this is possible. If it is possible for them, it is possible for me too. So that is what a story does. So stories are not just a tool for information, they are a powerful tool for persuasion. You want to teach your children what is right, what is wrong. Your story will do the trick. You don't even have to tell a moral. You don't have to tell a message. You tell them 100 times, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, corona, 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 wash your hands, wash your hands. Every time you come home, wash your hands like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. They'll say, how many times? If you tell once more, wash your hands, I'll not wash my hands my entire life. I'm sure many of you would have heard it from your children, from your students, right? So instead of that, if you tell them a story as to what happened to someone who didn't wash their hands, or what could happen to someone who washed their hands, how did it help them? Ah, right. See, it helped them. I'm quite sure it will help me also. That's interesting. So then you don't even have to tell them wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, because that is already internalized and they're connecting to the concept through the people they have heard in your story. Right? So that is the sensitization. That is why stories are so powerful for motivation. If you go and see any motivational speaker, including some of the top orators on the world, they use stories. It's not just that they get a chance to do is voice modulation and action, and it's not that. Of course, telling a story is beautiful, it gives a lot of joy, but more than that, it helps to motivate. It helps to let your audience come in the same frame as you. And that is important for a teacher. You want your students to share your thoughts, even without putting them down on the blackboard, even without them writing it 20 times in their book. And that is possible through storytelling. Okay? Then, of course, one thing that all of us struggle with, teachers, retention and recall. Right? How do you make children remember? You can take the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink it now. What to do? You take the horse to the water, you even tie it up there and say, if you move, I'm giving you detention. If you get out of this classroom for the next 1 hour, see. Then you even tie the horse. And then you even say, bend, bend, bend. Bend now. Drink the water. I say drink the water. Read my lips. The horse doesn't bend. You may even bend it. The horse doesn't drink water. What do? You have told all that you can. You have explained it in great detail, but the horse doesn't want to drink the water. The horse, it is not gone into the horse's head that it has to drink the water. How will you make them understand, remember, and recall? This is a big challenge for all teachers, right? In this case, stories help. Scientists have proven that stories help because, unlike an information, which is a set of memories. So anything we remember in our brain, right? It is not a single memory. It is it's set of multiple memories. That's how we remember. It's not like, one memory chip, okay, one memory address, okay, name, other memory address, okay, looks, third memory address, okay, height, fourth memory address, okay, color of the dress. No. So when you see a person, it's not just one memory that is created. It is a multiple set of memories, each of which are connected. That is a brain's natural process. Now, stories mimic this natural process. When your information goes through stories, it creates a web. It creates a web within your brain. A web where it is easy to put your hand in and pick it up. Stories help to remember because they create connections with so many different memories. So, for example, let's take the lion and the mouse story itself, right? So, the lion and the mouse story is, or let's say you want to teach friendship, of course. There's another thing that you can use the same story to teach 100 other things. But for now, we want to teach friendship. So, when I have finished the story, the concept is related to the lion, the concept is related to the mouse, the concept is related to the forest, the concept is related to a roar, the concept is related to a squeak, the concept is related to a hunter, then the concept is related to the net. It is not just one concept called friendship. Instead, you have created a web around the concept. So next time when I want to think about friendship, I can easily pull it up. So that is why stories help in retention and recall and applications. Applications is It's a natural extension of a story because every story in itself is a metaphor. It is an example. It is us trying to tell something to somebody in terms of our life, whether it's a biography of a famous person. Why do we listen to biographies? So that we can emulate them, so that they can be our example. Why do we listen to stories about concepts? So that we can understand how to do it. For that, lion and the mouse could be friends. Why can't me and someone else? It's not going to come in my way. How do we be friends? Maybe by helping each other when we need. So that is the power of stories. Unfortunately, what happens is we tend to treat stories as a separate thing and whatever needs to be told as a separate thing. That is the failure of stories in teaching. Then what happens? Stories are remembered just as stories, and the concept is remembered just as concept. Instead, if you are able to fuse them together, then your success is assured with storytelling. So I'm going to stop here and again check for any questions.
Yes, ma'am. So there are two questions.
Mm-hmm.
There are one question which Rebecca ma'am has asked, that is the storytelling and the story narration the same thing, or is there any difference in between them?
Okay, so in a sense, storytelling, story narration, I'm sure, I definitely say they are the same thing. But I don't know in what context you're asking me. As a storyteller, for me, whether I'm narrating a story or telling a story is the same. But when you say narration, there is it seems more guarded in the sense that you're probably um, telling the story as it is, but it need not be. So when I'm telling in the storytelling session, I become a part of the story. So when I am telling the story of, for example, Lion and the Mouse, it is not something that I read in a book. No, I am sitting there in the forest, maybe on top of a tree, safely so that the lion doesn't attack me. And I am looking down at what is happening and telling the story. So if you are able to transport yourself to the scene of telling, then your story will just come alive. Just like you tell about when you met your friend, just like you tell about that insolent boy on the cycle who didn't care for traffic signals, just like you tell about everything because you were there. Now, the trick is, even in storytelling, to be there. You need to be there, not here. So, if I'm telling a story and I am here, it doesn't have as much effect as if I go there. So that I would say, though they're not really different, narration seems to imply a more guarded and sober way of telling a story, but I don't think that is true. What is the next question?
So, ma'am, one of the teachers has also asked that storytelling, while sharing storytelling with small children, they can manage, but how to manage storytelling session with the bigger children who having not much interest in like this kids story or uh, like cartoon story, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked it because that is really a misnomer. It's a very wrong impression, which we tend to build in that stories are for children. Storytelling is for children, for young children. Cartoons are not the only kind of stories. Cartoons are just one kind of stories, right? So I tell a couple of things I will say. One is you need to understand that your children are different. They are in a different age. You cannot tell the story to a 15-year-old the way you tell stories to a 7-year-old. So that is up to you as a storyteller. When you tell to adults, when you tell older kids, you tend to assume, you need to assume that They have a very high knowledge base. You cannot make it childish. You need to allow their thoughts to expand as you tell a story. And of course, the plot needs to be sufficiently interesting for them. Let's say a 10-year-old may not be very interested in the story of what happens to the lion and the mouse. But the truth is, this is something which is a fact. Aesop wrote the story, when he wrote the story of the lion and the mouse, it was intended to indicate his master and he as a slave. He was trying to tell his masters, Aesop was a slave in Greece. He was a slave in Greece. He was trying to tell his masters that don't think that just because you're powerful, you can win always. You will need my help also someday. Now, when you try to bring this out to children that age, they will quickly connect. But I'm not saying you should tell Lion and the Mouse to 10-year-olds. You need to choose your story correctly. And you need to set them at ease first. So if you're telling stories to older children, that too nowadays, I'm sure as teachers, you will all agree that children are very alert, very high in information, knowledgeable. They know many things which even we don't know, which is nothing surprising, which is nothing bad. In fact, I feel quite happy about it, that they seem to have so much knowledge. So then we can't go as somebody from above and tell them a story, right? So we can make it first, have some discussion, have some interaction, get their thoughts out, and then share a story. As I was telling you, the top orators use stories. Corporate storytelling is a big thing. Everyone is talking about it. Then why are we thinking whether we can tell older children? Of course, you can tell older children. You just need to treat them their age. That's all. That was my thoughts. Yeah. Any other question?
Yes, ma'am. The last question is like, how long one story to be taken? I think Girija ma'am has asked that. How long one story to be taken?
Yes, that's also a very good question. It really depends. So, if it is a performance, like I'm doing a storytelling program, there the people who have come to see my story have come to listen to a story. But when you're using it in a class, that is not the case. You need to give a lot of information. And secondly, the class by itself does have its own distractions. There are a lot of other people and they're waiting for the bell and so many other things, right? So I would say ideally in a class, for teaching, when you're using stories for teaching, don't go beyond 10 minutes at the most. Keep it short. If not, try to include some discussions, some breaks or something in the middle. With younger children, 10 minutes is the absolute max. They will not be able to listen to your story beyond that. They will lose interest. Of course, it depends upon your connection with them also, how you set the connection with them. But in general, I would say for teaching, let us not push it beyond 10 minutes, because after that, for one thing, information you have to give, you have to discuss information, you have to talk about it. It's not just the story in by itself. And secondly, they will lose interest after some time. They're very interested to know. It also depends on the story. If the hook of the story is strong enough, you can sustain it for a longer time. Yeah, I hope I answered that question. Any other questions?
No, ma'am. No more questions.
Okay. Yeah. So so what is a story? So now I'll just go briefly into this. So the next session, as I said, we will be going into using some of the storytelling techniques, right? So a story, in fact, I would like to have a little more time to do this, but yeah, since we are almost at the end of our time, I'll just go briefly into it. A story, characters. Of course, you need characters for a story. Characters are the most important part of a story. You want to know what is happening to a person. You want to know what is happening to the protagonist of the story, the hero or the heroine, as you say, or to the people. Without characters, stories will not sustain. There are very abstract stories which use non-animate characters, but they're still characters. I can write a story about a table. I can write a story about a water bottle. I can write a story about a signal. But they're still characters. You personify them. If you're using inanimate object, you're using animals, you personify the characters. Events. A story needs to have events. Events that make a change and provide obstacles. For example, let us say I'm talking about what happened today. I had my breakfast. It was idli. I had my coffee. Then I put on my specs. Then I took my bag and I stepped out of the house. I started my car. Then I went around 2 kilometers. I stopped at a signal, and then the signal became green again. Then I went for another 3 kilometers, and then I came to my destination. I got down, and then I went. It was my school. I got down, went into my school. They're all events, right? But I'm sure half of you would have zoned off by now because there were no obstacles. A story needs to have something which stops me. And as you were listening to me, you would have been thinking, something will happen when she goes out of the house. Oh, something will happen when she stops at a signal. Something will happen when she gets down at a school. Nothing is happening. It's going on and on and on. So just events will not make a story. You need obstacles in a story. So this is a kind of a story guideline, which any story you pick up in the world, you will see it. This obstacle can be internal or external. Mostly when we tell children, there are things which happen to the people. And emotions. What is a story without emotions? Right? What is a story without emotions? Emotions are the most important part of a story. Emotions are what help you to connect to the characters. Emotions are what make sense of the events. Even if I had said, I had idli for breakfast, I don't like idli. And I had coffee. Then I went out. Oh, where was my specs? I'm always misplacing my specs. I got it. I'm getting late. There would have been some interest. Because I am expressing my emotions and you can connect to me. You can, I'm sure all of you would have searched at some point or some other for something, even if you are very organized. I am not, by the way. I keep searching all the time. But you can connect to the fact of searching. You can connect to the fact of not liking food. You can connect to the fact of having to eat food which you don't like in the morning. So the emotions add to a story. They are the lifeblood of a story. If events are the skeleton, emotions are the blood of the story. So these are, I would say, the 4 important parts of a story which you need to convey through a story. Many times when you are telling a story, when we are telling a story, we are so caught upon the language. We're so caught upon the correct representation of what needs to be said that we forget that we're not giving any emotional hook. Even in the smallest of a story, the thirsty crow, you need emotions. So thirsty. No water anywhere will be more effective any day than saying the crow was thirsty and searched for water. Both of them are correct, right? But there is a difference between the first and the second. The second one doesn't convey any emotion. The first way conveys emotions, right? So this is something which is very important for a story. I would say a few pointers on what a story is and why a story helps. As I said, the next week we are going to be taking a story and see how to make it more interesting. But for that, I would definitely need all of you, at least a large majority of you, to switch on your videos so that we can have a more interactive session. Yeah. Any questions? Any more questions?
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. So, some nice and beautiful session. I hope teachers enjoyed a lot. So, teachers, I have allowed you to unmute yourself and you can ask your questions if you have any. In a meanwhile, I'm going to share the links for our upcoming classes. And if you haven't joined our Telegram channel, please do join our Telegram channel to get real-time updates about our classes. We are soon going to conduct some survey designs and newsletters. So please do join our Telegram channel as well. And if you have any queries, suggestions, feedbacks, or thoughts, please do share. You can unmute yourself and you can share. Yes, Pankaj sir, we are you were sharing something.
Yes.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't think I'm able to hear you. Right? Probably you may need to put it in the chat some. Or is it just me? I'm not able to hear.
No, ma'am, I wasn't able to hear as well. So anyone else who want to share? They have appreciated the session, ma'am. They are looking forward for the next session as well.
Great. So I would
They're
also
saying that,
definitely.
yeah, they're saying that the very interesting voice modulation was great and expression are too good.
Thank you. Thank you. So if there are no other questions, then I would say, yeah, then we will definitely meet next week for the next session.
Sure, ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful session, your knowledge, for your time and energy. I know this take a lot of time and energy from your busy schedule. So thank you so much, ma'am.
I am really glad because yeah, I do believe. So I have a. It's not just the what's that come out of my mouth. I believe that uh, stories can really help in teaching and give an impact which many other things may not give. So any opportunity which I get to share my thoughts and maybe see help you to see the other side of using stories more effectively, I would be happy to help.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you so much, teachers, for your feedbacks, for your suggestions. And we are sorry, yeah, we are really looking forward for the next session. I have shared the link, so you can just go to our booking page and you can register for the next class right now. And we are also going to conduct a wonderful session on Microsoft Team. This will be a second session where we are going to share that how a teacher can track their students attendance, how can they assign the assignments, test papers to a student, and then provide them the grades and the feedbacks for the same. And we are also going to conduct a live session on tickling. So this will be a complete course where teachers will going to learn and you going to explore the tickling from a very basics and will become the master ambassador or a master teacher at a tickling platform within a fixed time limit. So please do join our live classes. You just need to click on our register button. I'm going to share the schedule once more. So just a second. And please do join our Telegram channel as well. As I shared, we are going to conduct more sessions like this, and you will get some real-time updates about our classes, about our survey, newsletter, and much more. So please do join and share the link with your peer teachers as well. And yes, I am going to share the YouTube link for today's session as well. Just a second. So if anyone want to watch the recording later, please you can watch by clicking on this link. Ma'am, we will surely provide the certificate within 7 working days. We will just analysis the duration of time the teacher has stayed and their level of participation, and will surely share the certificate with the eligible teachers. Okay, we need 7 days to work on it, so we will surely share the certificate by next week. Okay, teachers, thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. You all have a great day and a great time and a great Sunday as well. We hope we will see you in our upcoming sessions. So good day, everyone. Thank you so much, ma'am.